Hi everyone, welcome to the weekly bump. I cannot do it live today. I'm sorry about that. I love doing the live readings, but I gotta tell you, I woke up this morning at 5 a.m., like bink, wide awake all of a sudden, and I have not been able to sit still since. It's been quite the whirlwind of a morning, and I gotta tell you, that's what happens when I've got either a Mars or a Moon in Gemini. I do not jive well with Gemini energy. And it's not going to be in any of our best interest for me to try to do a live because I have a feeling it's going to come out all like jumbly and confusing, and there's just too much to cover for that to kind of be the way that it goes. For those of you who don't know, I have my Chiron in Gemini, which I actually realize is one of the reasons why I use my hands this way. Chiron or Gemini rules. See, I can't even speak. Gemini rules the hands, and it's that awkwardness, which is why I'm so jerky. I just read that the other day. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Why I speak with my hands so much and why it's so like not fluid and elegant in any way, shape, or form. The way like a Gemini is very elegant and fluid and flowy and very air-like. It's more like kind of thing. Anyway, that's just nonsense. Let's go ahead and jump in. First of all, let's talk about the Kybalion. Because you guys, I had 1,100 people watch my Kybalion video. I was not expecting that at all. I was expecting maybe like 150. And I'm thrilled that that many people watched my Kybalion video. I don't know how long people stayed, but you know, it was just kind of a silly little PowerPoint presentation, a summary of the book. And I had so many emails and messages of people talking about how excited they are to finish and to finally have a lot of their sort of intuitional thoughts and feelings kind of confirmed. And so if you haven't read it, please do so. Purchase it. There's free downloads. There's even a free audio recording on YouTube. If you just want to listen to it in your car or whatever, you're more than welcome to do that. And we'll finish it up this week. I'll work on the presentation, over the next few days, and then I'll publish the video. And then the best part is going to be the discussion afterwards. So I'm so excited about that. What else do we need to talk about? I mean, we'll get to the stars. I'm going to do the cards first, kind of connect them together. I feel like there was something else. No idea what I was going to say. So we had the first card come out already, and it's the Justice card. This is karma at play. You know, I have a feeling that we are all feeling very, very stimulated right now, not just because of the Gemini moon, guys, but because of just a lot of the Saturn retrograde and Aries moving in, or Chiron moving into Aries. I'm even drinking sleepy time tea, like bedtime tea right now, just to help calm my nerves a little bit. Hold on. Karma is at play big time. Anytime Saturn goes retrograde, it's a time for karmic retribution. It's time for things to get called up to the docket and things to get rectified, things to get fixed. And it can be a really, really harsh time for some of us, or it can be like one of the most amazing, blissful times full of blessings and really, really good things, especially if you have good karma coming to you, you know? And justice is essentially, in my opinion, I feel that this is God, or this is Source itself, right? The creator of the laws of which we abide, you know, universally. And it's not just us here on Earth. It's like the entire universe and any other beings or angels or anything from the lowest life forms up to the highest life forms. They all abide by natural law. And this is what the Kybalion is all about. So it's all like, oh, okay, we're reading the Kybalion at the perfect time. And we've got the Justice card coming out, ensuring that we are on the correct vibrational track. And if we're at low vibrations right now, guys, it's going to be super tough because Pluto's going retrograde in Capricorn as well. The Uranus transit is probably not going to be that friendly, and neither is the Chiron transit. Okay, so the one thing we absolutely should not do is try to hang on to the way that it used to be. All right. And that's will come out later when we talk about the astrology stuff. But this is an enforcer, the enforcer of the laws, and the enforcer to ensure that everything is always at equilibrium as often as possible. So when we're up too high, it can pull us down. When we're down too low, it can pull us up. So it has, the effect on both directions there. So let's see what else comes out here with the cards. Well, hold on. I'm getting ahead. I want to talk about the stars because I've just been looking at them all morning. But let's do the intuitive part first. I was thinking about, because I've changed my format several times trying to figure out kind of the right formula, but it actually makes sense to do the intuitive part first for you guys, because the intuitive part with the cards does represent the feminine and the stars kind of represent the masculine, and it's kind of them working in conjunction. But in my opinion, I always feel like the feminine is kind of what comes first. I don't know why. That's maybe just because I'm a woman. I don't know. But I do feel like that's kind of the case there. Seven of Pentacles coming out now. And I think this has a lot to do with the Gemini moon, is there's anxiousness and tension in the air because of what the outer planets are doing. And the moon is that little controller, right? Okay, let's get stimulated. Let's start thinking about what's not satisfactory anymore. And it's probably mostly up here. I don't think that there's going to be a lot of action or actual productive work that's being done toward these major goals of yours today and tomorrow. I think that what's going to happen is today is going to be a day of like huge amounts of thinking, huge amounts of contemplation, and it's going to be very fast and very rapid contemplation, and it's going to have a lot to do with the structure of your life. And here we go, Uranus entering into Taurus, right? Card of Taurus. And the Hierophant not only represents our institutions, our educational, our governments, our marriages, and whatever else. Not only does it represent those things, but it also represents our sense of self-mastery. Today might actually be a good test. Actually, maybe it was a good test for me today too, is how much can I eject myself, or how well can I eject myself off the pendulum of the rhythm of the universe, right? Which is with the stars. The stars represent our rhythm. And how well can we jump off at a prime time so that when the pendulum swings backwards, we're not on that backswing right along with it. Self-mastery and a significant acknowledgement of our soul and how we are here to fulfill our soul's purpose. And I think that that is a concept that has been hashed out for the past several months. Our soul's purpose, our soul's journey, however you want to define it, and what it is we're really, really here to do. What kind of work are we meant to do? And whenever Uranus moves into a new sign, just generally, not necessarily moving into Taurus, but any sign, it's like a reminder to not get comfortable ever, to always be open to the flow, to always be open to what is best, and Uranus likes to shake things up in a really big way, and it's impossible to hang on to structures. It's impossible to remain crystallized for long periods of time because the rebellion and the rejection of those structures is inevitable. And so for those of you who are more rigid in nature, this is going to be very, very difficult. And this Gemini moon of ours right now over the next couple of days is really going to get you thinking about, okay, it's preparation. It's preparation of options. Gemini is all about connections and like connecting the dots and like, okay, if I go this way, then this, like a chess game of your life is going on up here. And it's, again, like I said, it's probably not going to be the most productive couple days for you guys. Things will still get done like normal, but it's not going to be extra productive on the outside world, but in here it's going to be extremely productive. For those of you who are writers and journalers, journalers, is that a word? Now is a really good time for you to be journaling and mapping things out and doing the little bubble charts, with here's the center and here's a spoke, and here's where things could go, just to wrap your head around it, because I suspect that your mind is very, very full. I didn't hold this card up yet. I suspect that everything is kind of under the microscope right now. Your financial situation, your relationships, your friendships, your living situation. I feel like the living situation is like a big thing for a lot of people, that a lot of people are either wanting to upgrade their homes, or they're wanting to just adjust or even downgrade. A lot of you are maybe even wanting to downgrade your homes and to live a more simple life. And like maybe everything you thought that was important isn't important before. Oh, sorry guys, I'm turned off my volume. Again, another Gemini thing. I've been looking at my phone all day for like no reason at all. Just like, oh, what's on my phone? Nothing's there. I don't even know. But yeah, so that's kind of what's going on there with the Seven of Pentacles. It's dissatisfaction. That's the anxiousness of Uranus building up to the last degrees. We've got the Sun directly in conjunction with Uranus. And again, I'll get to that in just a minute, but it's like impossible now for me to do one and then the other. I'm already prepared for the astrology. I don't know how Geminis exist on a day-to-day basis. If this is how they feel all the time, it's just so different. So different. It's the completely other side of Mercury as a Virgo. Two of Swords. You can't see right now. See, you're wearing that blindfold. You are being guided intuitively with the moon being very, very present there. Again, we're getting two cards of Libra. Libra is so much about balance and evenness and also an ease of life. It is a sign that's ruled by Venus, and Venus ruled themes in life are beautiful. They have some sense of aesthetic. And if your life right now is quite jerky or quite messy or quite ugly, there's going to be this draw to really clean it up. You know what I often see is like the concept of Libra aesthetic? I see it as being one of those hyper contemporary art galleries that you would see at like Art Basel or, in Miami or New York, with all the clean white walls and like the white floor. And then there's just these pops of color on the wall. Like, not to say that you're going to decorate your home that way, but it's that kind of drama, but it's very subdued. And sometimes our life can just get so messy that it is about streamlining. That's what I mean when I talk about the aesthetic of life. The aesthetic of our energy is streamlining things, but ensuring the right colors and the right moments and the right attitudes are highlighted, like those pops of color on the museum wall kind of thing. Two of Swords is that intuitive guide that means that you don't have to look. You're not really at a crossroads, right? You've got the blindfold, you've got the swords. You're not really at a crossroads. In fact, you're actually 100% on the right track. And you might not have any idea really why these thoughts are entering into your mind. You don't know why these ideas are coming out, but they are, and you accept them. And in a way, you do mentally explore them. I think so much is going on up here right now and not a lot in the physical world. It's just about consideration, considering everything, thinking about things, and evaluating. We've got Mercury going direct now, so you're no longer in this right brain state of mind where it's like abstract ideas and colors and shapes and whatever, and now it's like numbers and strategy and logic and really figuring out the true direction of things. King of Wands coming out now, which is the high-minded individual, the person or people that look from the top, look only like kind of at the grand scale. There is no dream too big for a King of Wands. There is no goal that is not attainable for a King of Wands. It is going to be a very imperative time for you to dream as big as you can, to begin imagining, because you guys, with Uranus coming into a sign of money, you're looking to buy an island. It's possible that you could buy an island because you're thinking that way, and you're aligning your frequency that way. And if you want to live a hermit lifestyle and just give up your job and go live on a farm, that's probably really possible too, you know, kind of thing. And so it's about the absolute desire. It's about truly what you want your purpose on this life to be. It's there is no dream too big. There is no amount of money that's impossible to get. Did I say I see this as my Steve Jobs? I say it all the time. He's like my Steve Jobs character, the one that comes out and the one that completely revolutionizes an entire industry and in our entire world, and it trickles down to everybody, right? To the whole world. This is that type of person that can do that. This is that type of person that can dream that big and that can think that big and who can do things that big. Okay, so there's no limits here. There's no ceiling whatsoever. Can we throw Elon Musk into the mix as well? Guys, he shot a car up into space. He's sending it to Mars. He's sending people to Mars or whatever it is he's doing. There's no limit. There's no ceiling anymore. See, this is like the anti-moon in Gemini. This is a Virgo card. This is not what a moon in Gemini likes to do. This is still things need to get done. The regular things, the mundane, like the paying of the bills and the things that ensure your safety and your security in the meantime. It's not like you can completely throw your hands up in the air and throw your whole life away and move on. Of course not. We're not idiots. Like, of course not. And so there is still work that needs to be done in the interim. And just because you can dream this big doesn't mean that it's going to be handed to you on a silver platter randomly one day. No, there is still a lot of work involved here. And so we are going to have to do the work. We are going to have to put in the effort. And I know you're not surprised by that, like no doy. And that's fine. It is what it is. But once you come to a conclusion of what it is that you really want, you know, you have your work cut out for you, but it's work that you're probably the best kind of work that you could ever possibly hope for, the best kind of work that you could ever want to do in your, you know, in your life. And there's such a smile on your face and such a sense of peace while you're doing that, that you don't even, you wouldn't consider it work. You wouldn't consider it oppressive in any way, shape, or form. Right now, though, is not the time to really put effort into significant dreams and stuff, because all of that is all just up in the air right now. With the Taurus and with the Uranus thing, we're just like, we're going to need it to settle first. We're going to need that dust to settle. That Sun and Uranus thing is probably major part of kicking my butt too. Although I like Uranus energy. I got my Jupiter in Aquarius, and I very much thrive on the unexpected and the uncomfortable. That's just me, though. Not everyone's like that. I like the restlessness in that way. And the moon. So we're getting two cards that have the moon. We've got the Two of Swords and we've got the moon itself, but the moon is up here, see? And the moon is definitely a very dark place. Same with the blindfold there. A very dark place, very not able to see right now, but you're not really fumbling. You know, like I don't see you fumbling in the dark. It's very, very clear. And as soon as you can see that step right in front of you is the moment that you can take that step. So you do. It's like, okay, one step, and then it lights a little bit more. Okay, it's safe, and now I can move a little bit more. And it's just a matter of pure faith that you are being guided to be where you're supposed to be. And of course you are. At when and at what point in your life has that not been the case? I suspect that all of you can really look at your life and you can look back at the tough experiences and you can say, yeah, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I was supposed to go through that. I was supposed to deal with that. I was supposed to experience that pain, because without it, there's no way that I could ever possibly be who I am today, right? That kind of thing. And it is a part of your quest for self-mastery. It is a part of your quest to discover truly who you are and why you're here. And with that Uranus stuff too, guys, it's not just about worldly things. Uranus is about, like, galactic origins. It's about outer space. It's about the cosmos. And I feel like there is a great deal of wondering. And I've been seeing so much stuff lately on YouTube and on social media, and maybe it's just like the things that I follow. Of course, that makes a big difference. But like more and more and more over the past 6 months to a year, have I been seeing all this star seed, indigo child, Pleiades, you know, souls, stardust that has come to Earth to accomplish some kind of goals. And, you know, there's that kind of outer spacey Aquarian element to all of this too, from the spiritual standpoint, and truly connecting with the cosmos. Okay, kind of an idea. I know it might be weird for some of you, but if you were to start kind of researching that stuff, I haven't really delved too much into it. I mean, I just kind of see little blog posts and whatever, and I just like, okay. But when you do start looking at it, it's like, oh, maybe there's something there. You know, maybe there is some kind of connection. So here we have we're not getting any reversals, guys. I definitely have reversals in here, but they're not coming out. The world is that, I even said it in my latest readings that I did just today or yesterday. It's like the standing in front of that Stargate portal, like in that movie Stargate. Remember when they have that big circular thing and it's like filled with the energy field or the goo or whatever it is, and when they step through, they are then able to like time travel. That's kind of what this is. Maybe not time travel, but it is the Stargate into the next era of your life. And Chiron and Uranus both transitioning signs. It's a major new era in your life, in all of our lives, in the history of the world. It's a brand new era. And we're standing there and we're looking right at it. We're kind of hesitating a little bit because I think we all know intuitively there's this kind of like density in the air that's sort of addressing this idea that it's just going to be different. The world is never going to be the way that it has been, and it never is. I mean, obviously, when you look at the course history of time, it never stays the same. And that's kind of Uranus's job, is to ensure that it's never the same, this constant state of change. But we do get comfortable with energy. We did get comfortable with Uranus and Aries. In a weird way, we got comfortable with the sense of self being ripped to shreds, and with that newfound sense of internal I am that I am type of security, we can now operate. And, you know, I feel like moving into 2019, because of these transits, 2019, we're going to be operating at 100%. Like for the first time in probably since our childhoods that we've been able to operate at 100%. Okay, and that's a really exciting thing. Let's pull out a couple more, and then we will talk about the stars a little bit. It's going to get a little bumpy for a while, but eventually we're going to make it over to the glassy horizon, where there are no treacherous waters, where there are no, you know, huge swells that make us seasick. You know, no, it's going to be about the calm. It's like, I don't know if you guys have ever been to the Caribbean or not, but it's like the Atlantic side is always like the surfing side, right? Bumpy, big waves, choppy, like don't get in the water unless you know what you're doing. And then the west side is always like, oh, let's swim out a mile if you want. You know, it's like so calm and cool, and the water is so clear and so beautiful. And it's like you're making your way from east to the west side of the island to enjoy those smooth waters, because you've just been tossed around too much, and it's time to just kind of relax, you know, and it's time to just chill out. That was a theme this month too. Temperance kept coming out. It was like, just relax, chill out. You got to go with the flow on this one, because the harder you fight, the harder you're going to fall, for sure. Last one. Rapid movements, swiftness to the transition. And look, it's not just about you transitioning energetically, but it's like you have come to this very intrinsic understanding of what it means to change your frequency. And I think that's probably a concept that many, many people have been struggling with, because they think they know what they understand the words. They totally understand what people like me and other yoga teachers and everything, they totally understand what we're saying. They understand the process. But it's kind of like reading the instructions in a recipe book. I mean, like making a cake, right? Okay, here's the ingredients. Okay, I got all those, and here's what I need to do. I need to preheat the oven, and I got to stir, and I got to make sure it like does this, and this. But it's so different to actually bake that cake yourself, to actually do it, because it's the actual doing that is the learning process, not just the reading of the words, right? It's living it out and carrying it out. And a lot of you have gone through that sort of metamorphosis of understanding what the cookbook says and actually understanding the process of building the cake. And like, because you've come to that intrinsic understanding of what it takes and what it requires and what it means, you're going to start attracting things on a level that is so, like, even to you right now, it's very, very confusing. And like I said, you're not going to be able to really see or really understand what I'm talking about until it comes to fruition. You'll be like, oh, wow, I really did create that, didn't I? And like, wow, that was amazing. And I'm going to do it again. And then you do it again. And you do it again. And then once you've done it enough times, you're going to start sharing that knowledge with other people. And you're going to start expanding yourself by sharing yourself, by sharing the things you've learned, by sharing the blessings that have come along with that knowledge. So, I mean, it's a really, really, again, not a single reversal came out. And I had to double check that I had reversal. Like, yeah, here's one right here. I definitely have reversals in here. So planets might be going retrograde, but the cards aren't going retrograde today. So it's good. That moon in Gemini is like, nope, we got to keep this shit going. Got to keep it clicking along. Okay. Let's focus on the stars, okay? And I know I brought up a little bit, but I only brought up a little bit. First, I actually really want to talk about this trine that has been happening for a while. And we're coming off the trine now between Jupiter retrograde and Neptune. I mean, well, it's going to still be a while. It's still going to be in trine, but I haven't really talked too much about it. And it caught my eye today when I was doing my notes and my chart. This is kind of how I prepare. And I'm like, I really need to bring that up first, because there is this creative energy that's just coursing through our souls. And it's about the creation of life and creation of anything, anything artistic and anything beautiful, whether it's music, whether it's writing or poetry. And if you're not engaging in any sort of creative activity that you genuinely love, it might be a really good time for you to start, because it is through that process of creating where you have your beliefs and your faith confirmed, whether it is your faith in yourself, your faith in your future, and your faith in where your family is really going. Because if you're reading along in the Kabbalion, we do talk about the process of creation, and we talk about how God, or the all, goes through this period of creation, and then it like pulls it all back. And so I think that our form of creation is just a little teeny tiny, infinitely small, minuscule way of understanding the creation process on a universal level. And through creating things, and we get lost in that zone, we get lost in that sort of meditative state, that in and of itself is an inkling of what the all goes through, and it brings us closer. It's like two people that have gone through a similar experience can relate very, very well, because they understand what that experience was like. And that's why creation is important. That's why creativity is important. And all of those things, art, writing, again, poetry, and performing arts, dancing, all those wonderful things. That's why they are considered spiritual acts, because it brings us closer. And with that Neptune trining Jupiter, it is, you are going to have a lot of inspiration that comes to you during those moments of time. So just something to keep in mind as we are going through some pretty major karmic shifts. You know, we have officially Saturn going retrograde, and this is all about karma getting sorted out. You know, and this is going to happen up through till September, the beginning of September, September 6th, I think it is. And, you know, if we do not, nothing, I don't even know what I was going to say. But that's going to have a whole thing. There's a connection there with Mercury as well, as Saturn and Mercury are squaring right now. So I think you're going to have some things that are reflected back to you that are going to be a little bit tough to swallow. People might say some pretty harsh things, but it's all very, very truthful. I don't think that the people that are projecting stuff onto you or offering advice or offering, you know, ideas or, you know, creative ideas especially, I don't think that they have any ill will toward you. Although it might appear like they're trying to interject or to control your life, that is absolutely not the case. They are just there, hopefully, helping you. And unfortunately, it is that kind of reflection backwards that can be quite painful, and that's sort of the karmic aspect that comes to play. Now, coming up very, very soon, April 26th, we've got Pluto and Mars coming together directly in the sky. And I talked a little bit about it in my monthlies, but not really. There is a volatility with this because it is also square Uranus. And the sun is going over Uranus right now. There is that anxiety of Uranus hanging out the very last degrees of Aries. And Pluto, Mars, desire for power and potency, and there's lust and there's ruthlessness that comes along with this transit. We may see that more on a very much higher level, like our presidents and governments and our leaders, but on an individual scale it will be at play as well. It's truly best, if you're feeling that aggressiveness, to just work alone as much as possible, to do your own thing alone as much as possible, or to channel that energy in a creative way. Again, another reason why I brought out the Neptune-Jupiter trine, because if it's not creative and it's not productive, then it's probably going to get onto the destructive part of that. And that's not what we want, because that's working against ourselves. And like here we are talking about karma. Like we have to be so careful about how we conduct ourselves, because karma is at play. This is a time when karma gets paid back, but this happens every year. So it's not like it just is one time and that's it. It's like we have to keep it consistently at the front of our minds. And it's not just doing things for the sake of having good karma, but it's truly for the sake of raising your vibrations and being a positive influence in the world. One of my weekly bumps several months ago, it was one of my first weekly bumps, where I talked about the meditation study, the Maharishi effect. And what he did was, in different parts of the world at different times, organized mass meditations. And I saw anywhere from 4,000 to 7,000 people that would come together. They would meditate for like 20 minutes in the morning and then 20 minutes in the evening for every single day. And they'd kind of cycle through that like 3-week period. And what they saw were ridiculously large dips in the numbers of crime rates and murders and homicides and car thefts and car accidents and domestic violence reports and just overall global terrorism. Like these numbers were so drastically reduced and decreased that it was like kind of this weird, not necessarily a direct correlation, but it's kind of like seems coincidental, but not really at the same time. And that's the power of meditation. That's the power of our thoughts, the power of our mind. And every single person who made up those studies contributed. contributed to the consensus reality, contributed to the world in a positive way. And so if you're sitting there with anxiety and thinking negative thoughts, then you're contributing to the negativity of the world. And if you're thinking positive thoughts, and you're contributing to the love and sense of humanity in the world. And that's really what this is all going to be about, is being very, very responsible for your energy. And it all starts up here. And so this kind of Pluto-Mars conjunction is going to be a test of that. Because if you are experiencing it in a very lustful or a very aggressive and destructive way, and if your partners and the people in your life are, then this is a true indicator of that separation that I've been talking about and I've been hashing out like crazy, because it's truly, truly happening. And I'm noticing it just by watching the news and kind of staying abreast of what's going on. Like, there are people that are raising the vibrations of the world higher and higher by increasing their own vibrations, and then the other way going with the low vibrations, and they cannot interject. And I talked about in some of the monthly readings how there's like, if my hand was vibrating at the same frequency as this cup, my hand would be able to just kind of go through the cup, kind of like we see in, you know, ghost movies and science fiction movies and whatever. But the fact that this is vibrating at a different frequency as my hand is what's causing that resistance there. And so what's happening is there's the resistance between the higher and the lower, and it's going to become more and more prominent as you are going through this transit. And the people who are operating at a lower frequency, they're like essentially removing themselves by rejecting you, kind of thing. And it's just this natural, like the natural order of things. Two people at two different frequencies can't vibe together. Does that make sense? Am I talking nonsense? Is this my Gemini moon talking nonsense right now? Bleh. My normal moon, guys, by the way, is in Scorpio, my natal moon. So yeah, Scorpio and Gemini, it's like, it's a tough one. So yeah, so then there's that. And then there's the jitteriness too of the Uranus-Sun transit. What are my notes here? You know, Uranus is a planet of rejection. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, kind of the mythology behind it, but Uranus was essentially the god of gods, right? He gave birth to Venus, Saturn, and one more, I forget, I apologize. And he was so disgusted by the look of his children because they took on sort of that mortal look, like a human being. He was so disgusted by them that he cast them away, eventually then to only be killed by his own son, Kronos, or Saturn, right? Kronos has that real harshness to it. And I mean, he in fact killed his own father and cast him down to earth. And so not only is Uranus about revolution and rebellion, but it's also about rejection. Rejection is the Saturnian part of Aquarius, because Aquarius is ruled by both Saturn and Uranus, guys. It's not just a Uranus-ruled sign. So they have that restrictiveness. And with this Uranus transit, there is rejection happening here. And the rejection is like, there's going to be this sense of, how are we not free? Are we not free financially? Are we not free because of our laws? Are we not free to browse the internet the way we want to? Are we not free in this and this and this and this? And the list is going to go on and on and on. It's going to hit every one of us in different ways, depending on where this transit is occurring in our own natal charts. Like for me, it has a lot to do with my 8th house topic. So the occult knowledge, especially with death, I'm, kind of concerned a little bit about that. There's the taxation element. There are going to be people who have a lot of credit card debt that's going to come to fruition too. There's going to be people who might even feel restricted by staying on the energy grid, and they're going to go and get solar panels or their own little wind churn or whatever it is that they need to do, so that they can break free from that sense of not having freedom. And you're going to start to realize how trapped you have been. And Uranus transits, like it's longest, I think, in Pisces and Aries. That's kind of like the longest transit time. No, that's Chiron. Never mind. I'm sorry. I'm getting them mixed up. Forget I just said that. But Uranus with the 8-year transit there, like that's just enough time for things to really change and revolutionize and then settle and become comfortable. And then it switches signs again. It's like, nope, don't you dare get comfortable. That's like the one thing that you absolutely should not do, is to yearn for the past. That is going to break you so hard and so fast, and it's going to make your life just so crazy. And you know, the thing about Uranus too, again, with that sense of idealism, like even his own children weren't good enough, weren't high quality enough. And it kind of gives you some insight into the Aquarian psyche as well, is that you can't stay settled for very long because there's this constant state of dissatisfaction. And it is that constant state of dissatisfaction, too, that is also reflective of the restriction of Saturn. And they have this constant battle going on entirely. Like they want things to be good, but they like things to be stable. But it's like, I want it to be better. I want it to be better, more perfect. I want it this way. And then like Saturn's like, nope, you can't have it. And so they can often be at war with themselves. And they see the world the way it is, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe the world is like this. How can we have let the world get like this? Because even in my Libra video, I think I talked about, Librans especially, because they have this very natural sense of mindfulness. Librans can be looking at the world and be like, can't we all just get along? Can't we just get along and have a good time and not worry about what another person is doing, you know? And I think Aquarians are very, very similar in that regard. And I think in some sense, all signs are like that, especially if you're a spiritual person. But it's like that Libran quality of life to have the aesthetic of the world. And Uranus is kind of speaking along those lines there. Let's talk a little bit about Chiron. Chiron, like, I'm sorry to have to break it to you, but it's time to try another flavor. It's kind of like how fashion goes out of style. And then all of a sudden one day you wake up and you're wearing that peasant blouse, and all of a sudden no one's wearing it anymore. And you're like, I'm a little bit outdated. Because remember when the peasant blouse was like such a thing? Or like the bell bottoms in the 70s was such a thing. The black chokers. And it's funny to see those kind of fashion trends come back to become trendy again. And it's like, if you're wearing the thing from 10 years ago, then you're out of date again. It's kind of weird how that works, but that's a Chiron theme. Like, it's time to change flavor. It's time to change your wardrobe. It's time to change your environment. It's just time to try it. There are no rules with this Chiron in Aries right now. Like, it's time for you to throw out the play-by-play, time for you to throw out the rule book and just start living with a greater sense of freedom. I even labeled the Aries reading Wild Mustangs Run Free, because that's kind of this Chiron, because Chiron is part horse. He's a centaur, right? Part horse, part man. And, he has that wild Mustang vibe to him. He's a very, very peaceful creature in essence, but he is also very lonely and very isolated as well, because he doesn't get along with the other centaurs. In Greek mythology, he was like the only peaceful centaur. He wasn't running around causing mischief, causing havoc, creating chaos. Like, no, he was a very, very wise creature who taught and aided many of the gods and the warriors of that time in mythology. And he was known for his wisdom and his kind-heartedness, you know, kind of thing. And even though he experiences isolation, he experiences sadness, and he experiences a lot of like unfairness, he still ultimately serves us a lot of good. He is the king of the wilderness, you know. And like I was saying, as Chiron gets settled in Aries throughout the course of this year, it's going to do its retrograde thing later this year, moving back into Pisces and then re-entering into Aries. And I think that once it does that re-enter, like I said before, 2019, we're going to be operating at like 100%. We're going to be feeling so good and so great, and things are going to be moving. And it's just going to be a really good time for many, many, many of us. Okay, I've been talking now for a little bit too long. Gemini, moon. So I'm going to let you guys go with that. I really wish you nothing but the best. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope to see you on my next Kabbalion video. If you haven't checked the first one out, please do so before you watch the second one so that you're not lost in like, what the heck is this? All right. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.